They are blatantly disregarded, educated, and well-learned people in this society. We have had enough. And I'll tell you something. We are the ones with the power to change that. We are the ones with the power to change that. I can go on and on in terms of solutions to crime and all of that. Mr. Griffith made an excellent presentation in terms of what we had and what could be implemented and the rationale behind it. But it boils down to you, the individual. With those little criminals, they're not really criminals. They entered into a society where they see, look, there are no consequences for their actions, and they learn to play the system. So it relies on you, and you. Start in your own home, parenting. Let them know there are consequences to their actions. Because even as police officers, we find a lot of things taking place with the police service at this time. We are products of the society as well. You understand? So it is important that we have to change this. We can't rely on external forces. Right here it starts. Right? We are denied of opportunities. We are deprived of lack of education in terms of illiteracy. That is the key to powerhouse and to get people elevated and independent. Anyway, people, I feel grateful for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. We thank you. We tried in 2010 and you were there with us. Mr. Abraham was there. We thank you all so much. I think Mr. Abraham wants to say a few words as well.
A pleasant good night to the Honorable Leader. Ms. Kamala. All protocols observed. In jockey backing on my former colleague, Mr. McIntyre. By the way, my name is Johnny Abraham, a retired senior superintendent with over 40 years experience. And I can safely tell you that when I was in charge of Central Division, the people could have slept with the house open. I will go on national television and I will warn the criminals to stay out of Central, and if they do come and they leave to tell the story, there's another story. And there is no leadership in the police service. And if the media pick it up and they want to chastise me, they could go ahead. I could stand up and say that anyway. And the reason for that is because some persons went and get elevated because of friendship, because of clique. Correct. I don't want to use all those words. While I was on the ground fighting crime, they were studying. I used to lock down Central Division with 5 vehicles. 1 Centennial Junction, 1 by the roundabout Caroni, 1 Clarkson by the fish market, 1 on the highway Clarkson Bay. You can't come in from north, you can't come from south, you can't come from the east. No escape route. I had a walkie-talkie. People talk about micromanage. I used to micromanage every sergeant in my division. Morning, noon, and night. The thing about the whole police service now is that people afraid to take the challenge to the criminals. They have no leaders. They have no leadership. If you're hunting and your dog going to chase something, animal, and you're not following the dog will turn back. If you don't have a leader, you can't have followers. And without all proper security in a country, you can't have no investment. They have no motivation in the police service. And on top of that, 4%. Under the leadership of Ms. Kamala Pasabi's sister, 14%, they get it back pay in 6 months. $1,000 extra on the salary. They was motivated more than ever. And I could keep going on and on and on. But the whole thing is that we must take back this country. And in order to do that, the police service have to have proper leadership and persons who are willing to make that sacrifice to work night and day to bring back this country to peaceful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. Thank you so much.
Pleasant good evening to everybody. Madam Political Leader, Gigi, sorry about that. All protocols observed. You know it very well. Name is Anthony S.D. Harper, Group Scout Leader of the 1st Shogunas South Secondary Scout Troop. And I want to tell all you something. I come from good parenting. Because you know why? My mother used to take charge of 2 boys. I and a younger brother who was a Coast Guard officer, who is a lawyer now. And we used to get licked with broad belt. If anybody know about that, my father was a cop. We used to get licked with broad belt because I grew up with our father. When we were small, my mother used to have us around our bed saying prayers every night. And we used to have our chores to do when we come from school. We had no time to watch no television. And Sunday morning, get up 4 o'clock from bed, say your prayers, take your bath, take your breakfast, go to church. When you come back, you have chores to do. And my mother used to tell us, she is in charge. She is the man and the woman in the house, not all you. Today, parents don't do that again. Parents are afraid of their children. So what is going on? Is the tail wagging the dog? Is the flag blowing the breeze? Something wrong. We need to bring back the family. Billy Paul said, bring the family back together again, and that is the only way we're going to have a good society. But the change, we have to bring back this lady inside in power. Because I as a scout leader, that is a leader. That is a leader. So we know what leadership is about. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Thank you.
Are we on? Oh, okay. Madam Bisesa,
Good
my
day,
respect to you.
Good evening.
Mr. Gary Griffith, my respect to you, Captain, and the rest of the panelists. I am the only foreigner, perhaps. I came all the way from New York, but I didn't really come for this illustrations event. However, I'm glad to be here. We are on crime. That's what it says, crime, not about family. When I was in the service in the U.S. Army, I saw the big guns they gave us to use. AR-15, M16, RPG, and all of these type. When I come to Trinidad and hear that the guns are all over the place, and they're coming in, and nobody knows how the guns are coming in, that's foolishness. Those guns are coming through the ports, and the Prime Minister and all those responsible people know where the guns are coming. Look, I read an article 2 days ago. A gentleman was selling in a roundabout. He had to leave and go to the United Kingdom. This is the place he was born. This is the place where his children was born. This is the place where his life was. When you start a revolution in that form, you're going to have all your people leaving the country. That is not right. And what happened? Gary, what happened? The people in the prison are the ones supplying the guns, the ammunition, and the drugs. Because the guy in the jail, he had a cell phone. He made a shot, he made a call, he got somebody to do his job, and this guy has to run, and this guy's got killed, and they're killing the people, and nobody's doing anything. All we hear is talk and same, and laws and laws. What is laws going to do? We need action. We need action. You can only fight crime with fire. Fire only fights fire. You cannot be passive aggressive. The way we operating is, well, we can see what we can do, boy. We can see what we can do. It doesn't work that way. They have ammunition. We are going to arm ourselves, and we're going to do the job. I read today in the news that a country called Ecuador, he had a new president. He's just about 2 months old. They had a gang called the Los Choneros. The guy was in jail. He got out free and he walked away from jail. But because he controlled all the gangs in the country, they went into curfew. 60 days of curfew instantly by Noboa in Ecuador. All of these crimes, they're copying it. They are bringing it home. You think crime by these boys running around and shooting people all over the place? It is organized crime. The big boys are bringing the drugs, and the drugs are causing the guns. Now, those big boys in the organized crime are not coming in the news media. They are down, suppressed, and controlled. The Prime Minister went to Canada on a CARICOM meeting, and he said, the police officers are dotish. Maybe he has some insight, but the police department, not the entire police department, is corrupt. But in that police department, there are a certain number of people who are corrupted. We have to get them out. We need the corruption of those police, and we need accountability. What we lack here is accountability. And every which way we go, nobody holds anybody accountable for anything.
Okay, bossman, let's give someone else a chance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good day, Madam
Good evening.
Opposition. Everybody else, members of the listening public, I thought it absolutely necessary that I should make a statement. I'll get into that, comrade. You're running in front of me. You know it's a trade unionist, and I'll go and say it back. So take your time. All right. So having said that.
Let's thank trade unionist, Ms. Annie said thank you for joining us.
Michael Annie said, so
Thank
let
you
me
so
start.
much.
All right, because you see, comrades, brothers and sisters, I think it's important that we understand what we're dealing with. And the honorable opposition talk about the question of a curfew. That is something that we in the labor movement don't support. Because the issue to us in the labor movement, what is causing crime? And let me give some ideas. Are we aware that we had 12 Damas vessels in Trinidad and Tobago? All right, you had 4, and you will know that, were interceptors.
That's right.
Why we had interceptors? Because the drug trade brings in small vessels who do the trade. It's not the big container vessels. Okay, so you needed that. Within recent time, our Minister of National Security said that the vessels are not operating because of lack of maintenance.
That's right.
And nobody took that up as Trinidadians. Isn't that a responsibility, if we're serious about crime, to ensure that the question of those vessels that we spend so much money for is operating? Are we aware of how many ports we have in Trinidad and Tobago?
That was part of the maritime.
Anybody pays attention to that? Some are unmanned ports, and you have airport and seaport, so we have to understand that. And if there's no control mechanisms for those ports, what happens? Because Trinidad, we must understand, is a transshipment point. Let me repeat it. Trinidad is not a producer of drugs. It is a transshipment point. And therefore, how do you operate a transshipment point? Is by bringing in the drugs and the guns through the port, the air, or the porous ports and them. What is the big science in ensuring that those ports are manned properly? Why the 356 radar system is not operational? Asking the question, those are things that we have to put in place, because that system was designed and came there to ensure that we have a whole radar screen so we could pick up any illegal drugs, vessels coming into Trinidad. Ask yourself the question, why that is done in Trinidad and Tobago if we're serious about crime? So the first thing we have to lobby for is not the opposition leader, is we collectively to ensure those matters are put in place. How you have a port? And let me hustle them quickly. Are we aware that after the 9/11, there's a code, the International Shipping and Port Facility Security Code, that speaks to the safety of the port? which is mandatory. And there are measures that are in place that the ports must follow. And if you follow that, because the American system, we wouldn't have issues, you know. How do you account for the fact that Trinidad that has so much money, we are no scanners boy on the port? Now, who is responsible for that? Who is responsible for that when we understand what drives the question of drugs in Trinidad and Tobago? And just for those who don't understand, you see they have kingpins in this country, you know. And you see you're talking about state of emergency. I learned when they cut the head off, that is the end of everybody, you know. And until we in Trinidad see who everybody know, who is involved in the drugs, are locked up and make a jail, we go be here every day talking. Because they fueling the drug trade. And let us be frank. Is it the little boy in Laventille? Is it the little boy in Point Forte? You understand? Because that is a international trade that is parallel to the world trade. And we have to understand that. You know before this man died, Pablo Escobar, all you remember him? Read and see. Forbes magazine had him down as the 7th richest person in the world. Understand what we're saying, you know? And we have a lot of that in Trinidad. They have a lot of money because of that. And they use certain places to wash that money nice to continue the trade. And we can't solve nothing. You could lock down, you could say state of emergency, unless you deal with those issues with the greatest respect that I am raising, we cannot have any solution. And I agree with you, you know, that the issue starts with all of us. All of us here. We cannot have a knee-jerk reaction when something happens. I am getting frightened. You know why? And I will end with this point. There's something that called nihilism. That we getting so insensitive to crime now. That if we have 3 murders, it's not worrying anybody again. That is a sad psychological state for any society. You understand, to reach in, you know. When we accept murders and we talk about this, 1 murder is too much for in this country. I know what I'm talking about because we just have to deal with that as a trade unionist. Because the people who are gunned down by the very same brothers and them all because they want a strike. And I will end by saying, crime is something funny. You see that thing will happen with recently with a store that making so much money, and because they have a minimum wage, which we don't agree with, we want a living wage. And because it moved to 2050. You know why it's 2050? $356, 3,000 rather, $556.65 a month. Who could live on that? Who could live on that? And if I'm a young guy, and I growing up, and all this government want to push is fast foods, what you're going to expect the youths to gravitate towards? When I could go on, do a little thing on the block and get $5,000 US. Understand what I'm saying, you know. So we have to build a better society and aim for a better society where education really means something. I hear my learned friends spoke about it. And I know about that because they come to Seaman's Union. They have degrees and they can't get work in this country. Idle minds happen. What happens to idle minds? The Bible talk about that. And for all those who believe and who does talk about the scripture, let me end by saying that God helped them who helped themselves. So you could pray now until next year. You could call for more prayers. If you don't help yourself, well, then we're in problems. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you. We had 2 elderly gentlemen waiting from since the beginning in the
Okay,
back.
Anil, thank you. We are coming almost to the close, so we'll just take a few more speakers. Those of you who did not get an opportunity to speak but wanted to speak, I think they passed around the Q&A cards, so feel free to leave your comments before you go. And as we take the final persons, Anil,
Yes, thank you very
when
much.
we are
Thank you.
finished, then we will ask each panelist to wrap up. Professor wants to say something, so can we hold, please?
Thank you.
I could remember many years ago in Jamaica, I spoke to the deceased Keith Sobian about the parallel economy that exists within the Caribbean. You know, there is the oil and gas economy that supports Trinidad and Tobago, but there is a bigger economy, what we call the parallel economy, which Mr. Anisette just spoke about. And I think that is part and parcel of the crime situation that we are experiencing here. There's a lot of money that comes in from the drug trade. A lot of money. And as I was mentioning, we need to stem the flow of that money by cutting off the guns, by manning our ports, because that economy destroys the normal, natural economy in Trinidad and Tobago. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Professor. Anil?
Yeah, thank you. All protocol observed. I want to say that I was in this political thing a long time ago. I joined politics with Carl Hudson Phillip and the ONR born in my home. And I want to say one thing to Gary. Mr. Gary, I have to level the handle and call you Gary because I am older than you, I'm 84. So, please. And I want to tell you from 1956 to 2024, you was the best and still the best commissioner of police we ever seen. Yeah. I think also talking more than that, he deserves that, you know. Give him a good round of applause. I heard one good statement here tonight by one of our main speakers up there, asking the parents here to supervise those children. Supervise your children, because you don't know what they are doing. My days gone by, my father worked and my mother was at home looking after the children. They ain't got that no more. Father and mother is working. They have no time for children. And this is what I'm asking you people to do. Supervise your children, please. Our next thing is that, what about our Constitution? We're supposed to protect us. Freedom of speech, freedom of place in which to live. But people jump in your fence. They jump in your fence and causing all kind of confusion. Breaking your door and shooting your children while they sleep. I can't get Tishara and Hamlin Smith any wrong, you know. Because that was going on now, jump the fence. And if they had hold me for that, and I tell them, look, listen, I want to see one of the greatest leaders we had, you know, seriously, and done the talk. Anyhow, my contribution tonight will cut short because thank God to Mr. Anil and Mr. Vig. They know me well, they'll be home by me, and I'm privy to have this. And I want to advise these people here. We're talking about crime. Solution to crime. The only solution we have for this crime, vote the PM out. Vote them out. I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we now have Mr. Rondell Fields.
Good night, everyone. I'm Rondell Fields, President of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. I try my best not to talk tonight, but it really impressed me to come here today and see a mixture of people, a mixture of races, a mixture of ages, a mixture of men and women. And it says something. that we all have a concern. We all have a fear, as some people said. And one thing I think we need to focus on honestly as people is that we need to find a way to unite. That, I think, is one of our critical issues. It hurts me as a Trinidadian sometimes to see how we treat each other as African and East Indian people, as Trinidadian people. We have to find a way that we can unite genders, find a way we could unite the races if we need to move forward with anything. I understand the strategies, I understand the crime plans, I understand the social issues part, but we have a real big problem in Trinidad and Tobago. Go on Facebook and see it. The kind of venom as African and East Indian people that we just spew behind each other. But look at us here tonight, because we all have the same common issue, boy. We can't start to talk about no crime plan until we start to talk about loving each other. That is where the issue is. That is why we families broken up. You feel I just study if an East Indian man come to help me see his son? Of course not, because I understand the value he have in that youth man life. We will always speak something we challenge with. I heard this statistic for 2022 and I know it well. 605 people murdered. 550 of those were men. 550 men are the most murdered thing. And his men kill them too. And as an African man, I could tell you 65.5% of those that were murdered were men. And African men kill them too. But there is another problem. Though those statistics are true, and I had to say it, although vexed with me, they are not murderers because of their race. You think it's because they're black? Or you think it's because they are men? Crime isn't race specific at all. It is the environment they're exposed to. If we were to say inherently crime is race specific, then I will kill somebody then. Then my brother Wade Mark could kill somebody if we seen murder in that aspect coming from the African community. If it was so, if crime was race specific, am I to automatically think that every East Indian man is prone to domestic violence because the figures may be higher in that regard? I'll be a fool to think so also. Why we don't come together and help teach each other? It means something possibly in the African family they need assistance with. And if the East Indian people are raising the children in a particular way and you're not seeing them murder us, maybe we could learn from you all. And maybe you could learn from us too. If we not killing our wives sometimes and killing ourselves after and are talking real, don't vex with me, you know. Maybe we could learn from each other, boy. Why we can't do that? Because we have a difference in a diversity in political affiliation, or because we have a different race. Why we allow our diversities divide us and allow people to divide us too because we are diverse? When our diversity is what does make us Trinidad, boy. You feel like you don't love Korea from Kunupia, and I surely like Kalalu too. We have to find a way to unite. I can't hate my brother here. I can't hate you. We had to find a way to do that, and that is the root problem. Our issues are crime is bad social behavior. That is what crime is. And I agree with all these strategies. I know my boy Dr. Gary have strategies for them. But long and short of the story, it must have that social element too. One thing I didn't like what Superintendent McIntyre didn't include is the social work that took place when he and Mr. Abraham was doing the hard work on the ground. All the NGOs came together in Central to work in enterprise. Everybody formed community-based organizations. Right now they're still functioning. Dashret Youth Empowerment Committee, Crumtress Youth Empowerment Committee, Bridging Castle Youth Empowerment Committee. because the people wanted to change their own community.
You know,
So once...
well, thank you from Single Fathers. I can hear your emotion.
I'm going on done.
One moment.
Okay.
What you said, I know Ms. Abraham has been a very, very hard-working, successful officer. So perhaps for our next crime consultation, should we invite him to be one of the presenters?
Yeah, man.
Okay. If you can wrap up, please, yeah.
So once again, my Trinidadian people, let us learn to find a way to, love each other genuinely, or else crime wouldn't done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Douglas is the way.
So
Thank you very much, and we humbly apologize to those who did not get to ask a question. We now go to the head table for their wrapping up summation for this first 2024 anti-crime town hall meeting. Over to the head table.
Anil, there's someone here. Anil, see what's happening here. Anil O'Brien, can you just speak with this person? You could take his name and contact so we could contact him. Okay, can we come back to the panelists as we come to the end? And shall we start, please, with Mr. Rodriguez? Winding up and wrap him up. Nicholas, you have a mic? Here. Thank you very much. Kevin, at the end, we can play the video that you should have played at the beginning, if it's available. At the end. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Rodriguez, thank you again. And closing remarks.
Good evening again, everyone. I am once again honored for this opportunity. But if you took nothing from my brief presentation, please take this. Parents, big brothers, and the men especially, I challenge you today to start telling your kids, your nephews, your daughters, your sons that you love them. Start showing them love and appreciation from home first, so it can be a barrier from the outside elements being able to attack their minds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. Dr. Rampersad.
Well, so much has been said. I think everything has been said. We know the causes, we know the consequences, we know the solutions. I think there's only one thing left to say, and I'll put on my trade union hat here, trade unionist hat, Mr. Anisette. Power to the people. People, you have the power to make the difference. All this crime and so much apathy. You know, we fought for the right of association in the 60s. Okay? We have now that right to protest. Crime is affecting our daily lives. We live in mortal fear. We can't just talk about it. So let us start to act. We have to put pressure on the powers that be to deal with this problem. Okay, so people rise up. It's time for action.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. I must thank the Honorable Opposition Leader for the opportunity to speak today. Crime is a monster in our society at this particular time. And we need everybody to get into the action to stop this. Because if we do not stop this, then Trinidad would die literally. We are not going to have investors come here. The investors who are here are going to leave. The brain drain is going to be part of the problem. We would not even have tourists coming here for Carnival. So we need to put our heads together and fight this monster. We need to protect our borders so that the guns do not come in. But while I am saying all of this, we must understand that this is not an easy task. As I mentioned before, many of the economies in the Caribbean are run by this parallel economy, and this parallel economy is greater than our economies, right? So we must understand that it's going to be a very, very long and arduous battle to get rid of this monster from our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Larry, please.
Okay. Thank you, Opposition Leader. And again, so just to close, again, we've heard a lot. I want to give you all the assurance it can change. I want to re-emphasize the catalyst for crime reduction is the implementation of government policies. In the last 31 years, every time a certain political party is in government, crime goes up. Anytime another political party is in government, crime goes down. That is a fact. That is not coincidental. And it has to do with the political will, the policies, and the people. We put in, and even to the members of the diplomatic corps here, you all would recall, as Commissioner of Police, we put a sophisticated operational command center. We were monitoring all of your places. We gave you a hotline in case of any situation. That has collapsed. It shows total disrespect to you, Your Excellencies, that we were looking after you all with an operational command center protecting you and other persons in your embassies. And that is what we have to endure. What we would have seen from 2010 to 2015 was a turnaround, and we pegged back the criminal elements from a national operations center that was recommended by the Commission of Inquiry into the attempted coup. It was coordinating everything. We had a 5-minute response. We had a highway patrol unit. We had an emergency response patrol, a rapid response unit, a national security special operation group, a training academy, GPS tracking on vehicles. We had operation centers in even the divisions that you just spoke about, sir. So we had the people, the training, the technology. We were getting hovercraft, we were getting armored personal carriers, we were getting drones. We got Diamond vessels at a cost of $1.2 billion less than 3 defective OPVs that could have done the same thing. We were getting interceptors. I close by telling you it can change, but you need the political will. If those that are in government are unable to provide that, then we are ready to replace them. Well, I'll take a quote by a certain political leader. If you're in government and you cannot solve the problem, then you are part of the problem and you need to go.
Thank you all very much for a very interesting evening. As I said, this is the first of many, and we trust that others can join us as we move along. Trust us, we will not just stop here today. We will take the comments, the suggestions, and the ideas. If there are others who wanted to contribute and could not, please free to send it to the Office of the Leader of the Opposition, your comments and your suggestions. I just want to share a little story, and we have shared with you from our platforms several anti-crime plans. I will not repeat those tonight, but I just want to share a story that will allow me to repeat one of them. A friend of mine spoke with me earlier in the evening, but more like this morning, late last night, this morning, and was telling me about a friend of his family where bandits had attempted to invade their home, and they were all inside of the house, and he heard his wife start screaming, and then he saw on the camera that there was a home invasion of sorts, and then he said all he could think about was Kamla. Now, it may not be for the reason you think, but all he could think about was Kamla, because what? He had a gun. And he said he had to think twice. Should he use a gun and then be charged for murder? And then he said he remembered Kamla. Against
This Monday, KPB Plus leads a powerful anti-crime town hall at the Joya Complex, Eastern Main Road, St. Joseph. Hear from key experts, Professor Hubert Daisley, Dr. Indira Rampersad, Gary Griffith and Enrique Rodriguez, along with testimonials from real people, including victims whose lives are changed forever. Plus, at Inside of the UNC crime plan with political leader Kamla Prasad B. Crime affects everyone. Anti-crime town hall, La Joya Complex, Eastern Main Road, St. Joseph. Live stream on all platforms. This Monday, KPB